You know, a lot of people give a lot of thought to what they put in their bodies, what kind of nourishment they are giving themselves physically. I think what is not thought of as much and is just as important is what nourishment do you give your mind? Some things, you would not look, for example, normally, just take arsenic into your body. Well, sometimes we do that with our mind. We put poisonous material in there. So I'm thinking it would behoove us all to consider more, what are we reading? What are we watching on TV? What kind of people do we turn to? What kind of places do we go? Is it really a nourishment for the mind or not? And I realize it's a very subjective thing. I mean, one person might be studying the absolute characteristics of a serial killer, and they have no desire or motivation to become one. They might be an actor studying it. It might be someone in psychology. It might be someone in law enforcement. I'm not saying that I'm saying for each of you individually, you know your values, you know your motivation, and so pay attention to what you put in. For another example, things about health. For some people, they're in the field of medicine, and that is what they're going to study, every kind of germ, every kind of disease. And then for some people, it's not what they're doing. They are instead feeding their own fear, their own hypochondria, learning 90 new ways to interpret a twinge or a pain, and imagining themselves with all kinds of illnesses. I mean, that is not nourishment for that particular mind. So I'm just saying, if each of us, and physically, in terms of nourishment, we are all slightly different. I mean, there are all these rules. You should have X amount of this or that, or you shouldn't have this, or your levels should be this or that. In truth, we're very individual. Some people can really not process sugar easily. Some have no trouble. Some have an easy time with carbs. Some don't. So obviously it's very subjective and individual. And the same thing is true with the mind. Do consider what sort of nourishment you're giving yours.